king of the California bootleggers before getting into the gambling business.
I went to the SS Rex. That was a gambling boat out in Santa Monica. And I worked for the mob. Tony Cadero, he was a mobster on the West Coast. He owned that boat.
But it wasn't all fun and games. The future Chief Justice of the United States, Earl Warren, spent years engaged in a battle to close down the offshore gambling ships.
He launched a naval attack upon those with some state officials. He got repulsed with his first assault with water hoses from the Rex, as it was called, the casino, but he finally shut them down.
Finally, Fornero, too, would make his way to Las Vegas.
Well, he built the Stardust, and then he died in the Desert Inn shooting dice.
Rumors of syndicate or mob control, arson, threats, and even murder have always surrounded the people and business of gambling. Maybe because beneath it all, it's still the business of money.
Now, a lot of people misunderstand it. Gangsters and gamblers are the same. They're not. Gangsters take care of the gamblers. They get a piece of the action and their protection, and they look after them. Gangsters are the guy that'll whack you and pop you. I mean, that's talk from gangsters. You see it in the movies and all this. But they'll take you out. They'll put you in the Detroit River, tie a slot machine to your leg, and you're gone. You know what I mean? They'll lock you in the trunk, give you a couple air hoses. That's the name of the story. But there, you have to be associated with them people.
Those people. It's a touchy subject and one that even today, decades later, people are reluctant to talk about. It's not, however, that difficult to connect the dots from the illegal clubs straight to the Las Vegas Strip.
My one uncle, his name is Sam, became a big man in the Cleveland syndicate. He was partners with Mo Dalitz, which was a big man, even out here.
Mo Dalitz was born of Jewish immigrant parents from Eastern Europe. His family operated a laundry in Ann Arbor, Michigan. They moved to Cleveland. He became involved in bootlegging. He became very much involved in gambling in Newport, Kentucky. And he moved out to Las Vegas in the late 1940s, became very much involved in the ownership of the Stardust, which had strong mob connections back to Chicago, and also the Desert Inn.
And so big men from different parts of the country and different backgrounds found common ground in taking their shot at the American dream.
In all cities, the mob is connected. They need them. Do you understand?
Then they got into the gambling business around Cleveland, Cincinnati, Newport, Kentucky, Havana, Cuba, Arkansas, all over and out here.
For those who dared speak out against gambling and gangsters, they didn't do it for long.
Father Rick Coughlin in Detroit. But he used to knock the mobs all the time. They blew his church up, and they shot Jerry Buckley, which was a commentator, and he knocked the rackets all the time, and the gangsters mostly. It wasn't the gamblers that did it. It was the hoodlums, the mobsters. They whacked him. Jerry Buckley shot him in front of the Hotel Detroiter.
Of course, a crucial key to the success and survival of America's secret casinos was a strict code of secrecy.
You zip her up. Don't see, you don't hear, and you bop. You don't say nothing. You got to dummy up.
There was also a gangster code of law set up for proper behavior.
The first thing that you were taught in this business, if you were an old-timer, was integrity.
I'm saying they were both. They were gentlemen and they were mob involved.
My uncle was part owner. He was involved with other owners in the Detroit area, the Purples, and of course some of our Italian brethren who were also involved in Detroit. And they, strangely enough, in Detroit was probably the only city in the entire United States where the various groups of gentlemen who were involved in gaming and other scurrilous activities never had a confrontation. These kids grew up together.
Meanwhile, things were picking up in Nevada, and before long, there were many gentlemen with questionable backgrounds laying the groundwork in Las Vegas.
You saw everybody. You saw mob guys, you saw killers, you saw movie stars, you saw everybody. Everybody wanted to go to Vegas, even in those days.
Still, some names do seem to surface repeatedly. They lead the pack as men who, for one reason or another, gained notoriety in legendary proportions. As children of immigrants, they learned early to hustle for a buck in order to survive, and they strongly believed failure was not an option. One of the most notorious was Flamingo developer Benjamin or Bugsy Siegel, an associate of the gang Murder Incorporated.
Sociopath, a murderer, a rapist, a person who engaged in all sorts of heinous crimes in New York.
They were all mobsters, but there was no trouble. Nobody caused any trouble then. You would never think about a casino cage getting robbed. They wouldn't dare.
Nonetheless, Bugsy was eventually killed amid rumors of spending too much of the mob's money on the Flamingo.
He was shot in July, I believe. Swallowed a lot of lead. Died of lead poisoning.
But he was so nice. Oh, now you talk about a nice man to work for. Bugsy Siegel was a nice man. And when they killed him, I cried.
Charlie Resnik became the Flamingo's casino manager after Siegel was killed. In those days, it didn't seem to matter that Resnik also owned and ran the El Rancho at the same time. Or Mo Dalitz. He became a respected member of the community and in 1969 earned the title Las Vegas's Citizen of the Year. By around 1951, those in the illegal gambling business were migrating en masse to the desert mecca of Las Vegas. This after a commission headed by Senator Estes Kefauver began a nationwide probe into organized crime.
And that's what brought the gambling to Las Vegas. Not the fact that gambling was legal, because it had been legal since 1931, but the fact that Estes Kefauver started a federal investigation of all the gambling.
Well, he went into 16 cities, including Las Vegas, Kansas City, St. Louis, especially New York, and investigated organized crime, trying to demonstrate that there was some form of a huge national conspiracy that he referred to as the mob or as the mafia.
There are a couple of theories on what prompted the hearings. Many believe it goes back to America's fascination with gambling and the mob, which was played up in Hollywood, and which the ambitious Kefauver tried and failed to parlay into a bid for the presidency.
The result of the Kefauver hearings was a tremendous amount of heat and very little light.
Others think the purpose of the hearings was much more insidious.
Actually, there's a theory about, I don't know if it's true or not, that organized Las Vegas crime was actually behind the Kefauver hearings to close down all the illegal places around the country. And what the theory is that they put the pressure on these small towns that the gambling patrons would decide, you know, maybe I'm not going to go down to Galveston because, you know, they could be closing down or they could be raided, I could be arrested. Why don't we just go out to Las Vegas where it's legal?
Either way, the hearings seemed to be the turning point for many of America's secret casinos. An experienced workforce made its way west.
This was the first chance that people that had been in illegal gambling, first chance that they had to be legal. And this was a great thing for everybody to come and have a legal job.
My uncle called me from Vegas and said, listen, you want to be an aeronautical engineer? You want to get in the gambling business with me? So I said, I thought about it a long, long time, about 4 seconds, and said, let me get my hat.
Well, when I got to Las Vegas, I got off the train station. I said, just like Kentucky, only more lights.
And more people than ever are still attracted to those lights.
Everybody gambles. You gamble. Everybody gambles. Might be 10 cents. It's a thrill gambling.
More than half of the adult Americans gamble at least once a year. Gambling is deeply embedded in the American character.
Usually, I win a little bit. I'm a crapshoot. I like dice. I love them. And I lose most of the time, but I still like it.
Gambling is a natural reflection of an America that prides itself on appraising folks who take a chance, who hit it big. Henry Ford, for example, or Bill Gates.
You know, we gamble all the time with the stock market, with, you know, just driving down the road, we're gambling. I think people like the adrenaline rush, the turn of the cards or the throw of the dice. You're energized by the thought of winning or losing.
But when you turn those dice loose, you don't know what they're going to stop for. So I call that a game of chance.
Whether it's on Wall Street or Fremont Street, it's that chance of winning that continues to lure otherwise rational people into the game we came to know and love, thanks to America's secret casinos.